Nothing screams low production value like bad camera movement. Your work can come off very amateurish if your footage is shaky or jittery unintentionally. But to get certain camera movement, it could cost thousands of dollars to hire a Steadicam operator or buy a gimbal. Camera operating is an overlooked skill and can take years of experience to get good at. It's something I'm still trying to improve at and sometimes need multiple tries of a take to get a good shot. So what budget options are available to you for camera movement that won't break the bank but still add production value? Number 1, tripod. Sometimes the best camera movement is having none at all. On certain projects, I really like utilizing a locked off camera because I let what's in the frame guide the viewer. With tripods, I really like trying to find a nice frame to keep things creative. For the Refine Things project that I DP'd, we shot the entire thing on my tripod. We experimented with getting high angles, low angles, pans, and tilts. There's actually so much you could do with a tripod, I just feel like it goes overlooked. If you get to editing and your locked off shots are looking a little bit stale, you can always add a little push in or scale out for this little bit of movement. This is a trick I find myself using a lot because it can establish a scene, draw emotion, or guide the viewer's eye. It also adds production value to have this subtle movement on your locked off shots. Obviously, you can't use a tripod for every project, but depending on the project and subject matter, the creative will usually dictate what sort of camera language you're going to be using. Choosing a camera language for each project is usually intuition based and figured out during pre-production. Before every project, you should be asking yourself, what sort of emotion and world do I want my audience to live in for this project? Number 2, handheld. Handheld is something that can either work really well or totally throw off your project. It's something you have to be really good at in order to achieve well. You have to be intentional when shooting handheld because it gives off a certain impression to the viewer. There's sometimes that fast-paced cutting sequence that requires that handheld shakiness. That specific camera movement can get your audience closer to the subject matter, make them feel more engaged, and also act as a juxtaposition to your locked-off footage. In my Toka project, I utilized handheld for this shower shot, which was a subtle push-in while shooting at 60 frames per second. That slight camera movement can evoke feelings like being with a character for intimate and personal moments. A lot of the time, handheld might just be the best option because of its versatility. For a lot of the shots in my Toka documentary, I was utilizing an easy rig because it just allowed us to move quickly. It's about training your intuition and understanding what you're trying to achieve and what emotion you're trying to convey. Number 3, Dana Dolly. I might be a little bit biased with the Dana Dolly because it's my personal favorite way to create camera movement on a budget. It's the cheapest option to create smooth movement, doesn't require a lot of crew to set up, and looks the most professional out of all of them. I find myself using a Dana Dolly a lot because it's the closest thing to an actual dolly. They're super versatile because you can use different sized pipes to accommodate different shooting environments. They're used on indie productions all the way up to high budget stuff because they're fairly inexpensive to rent. My local rental house rents them out for $125 a day, which is fairly inexpensive if you compare them to any other camera stabilization system. Having this bit of camera movement can add tons of production value to your footage and make things look that much more high budget than they actually are. And that's usually the goal when you shoot a project. You want things to look more high budget. Number 4, skateboard. I've used a combination of handheld and a skateboard to get some shots. The director and I both knew that in the edit, we both wanted a fast-paced and fun sequence. The skateboard was the perfect tool for this because it's not as shaky as handheld and not as smooth as a dolly. If you're doing some sort of montage piece, it can be great because there's almost no time you need to set up. You want to be comfortable on a skateboard first because the last thing you want to do is take a slam with a camera in your hands. I hope this video sparked some ideas for some things you could do for your next shoot and gave you some insight into what you can do with some basic tools. If you're interested to see more cinematography based content, then subscribe to my channel and thank you for watching.